Hey everyone, and welcome back to Battleborn. I've got a new build for you today. It's the Axe-assin for Boldur. Now Boldur is a tank, so his job is to soak up damage and generally be hard to kill, but that does not mean that he can't push out some damage, and that is exactly what this build is gonna do. So let's jump into it. Let me show you my Helix. Alright, so for Augment 1, I go to the right for Crash Helmet to get that overshield from doing Boulder Dash. That is very important because Boulder does not have a traditional shield. He's got a physical one, so he's constantly taking health damage whenever he does take damage. So that overshield is just a way to avoid taking health damage for a little bit. It helps a lot. Augment 2, I go with Aegis of Anger. That's going to give us his rage ability, or rage passive, when we use Boulder Dash, which it just works great with the overshield. So you get the overshield to prevent you from taking health damage, and then you get rage, which reduces the damage you take, so that overshield lasts longer. Plus, you get the attack speed, which is also very nice because you want to kill things. Augment 3, I go with Deft Defender. So I just want my shield to soak up more damage, and I want to be able to sprint with it, which is really important. Now, on previous builds, I went with the melee, but on this build, I hardly ever use my fists. So stunning blows would only apply in very rare situations. So I go with Deft Defender because that's much more useful to me on this particular build. Augment 4, I go with Headsplitter. I'm not getting a slow from fist attacks, which, like I said, I'm hardly doing. So the Headsplitter gives me a slow, and once I get to level 5 and I'm throwing exploding axes, it'll do an area slow, which is amazing. So that's what I go with for number 4. For number 5, I go with Desperate Rage, increasing that damage reduction from using rage, or from our rage passive, I should say. And that just helps a ton, especially when I'm trying to be aggressive and just kill people. Once I get his damage really high, that damage reduction comes in really handy. For number 6, I go with Axterminator, increase that axe toss damage. It's a really, really powerful hit when it's ruined, and that just makes it even more powerful. Augment number 7, I go with Wildblood. I'm using this build for damage. I want that extra damage off my melee attacks. Number 8 is going to be Knockout Punch. Now, really, you could go with whatever you like on this particular level. I go with Knockout Punch just because I don't really need increased dash distance, and I don't need my Boulder Dash off cooldown quicker. Because at that point, at level 8, it's taking off my shield rune, which I only want to do on rare occasions. So for me, Knockout Punch wins out barely. So I go with that. Just in case I am using my fists, I want them to do a little bit more damage. Number 9, I go with Death and Axes. This is going to increase your health every time you kill something with your axe toss. And that's going to come in very handy with your 10th augment, which I go to the left for Axe Mastery, which increases your damage by 2% for every 100 health you have. So with the extra health from the level 9 augment, it just adds a ton of damage. And on this particular build, I can get up to 3,500 HP, so that's going to be a 70% increase to my damage when I'm at full health. And I've got all those stacks up. Alright, so let me show you my gear now. Hop over to there. So, I forgot to label it, but it's this first loadout I'm going with. Typically, I use higher cost items, but I didn't really feel the need here, and I did not use Boulder's Legendary because I don't really like it. I tried to use it, but I just don't find it very useful, so I decided to make the build without the legendary. So this first item I go with is a green Violent Endoskeletal Graft. 9.8% attack damage plus attack speed when I land a melee hit, which if I'm hitting, that's how I'm doing it, so that's going to be constantly up. Second item I go with more attack speed and health. Both are very useful. The attack speed for obvious reasons and the health for if I do manage to get up to level 10. That's just going to add a little bit more damage to me, and at the earlier levels it just gives me a little bit more survivability. And then the third one I go with is this Enraging Sustainment Siphon. It gives me plus 13.24% healing received, which is more helpful than you would think. It increases the healing you receive from blocking just a little bit more when you've got a rune shield. And plus, if any players are healing you, it helps out just a little bit, and you need every little bit you can get. So that's what I go with, and then of course it's got the attack damage on it, which I love me some attack damage and some attack speed. Alright, so there's my gear and my Helix setup. Now that you know how that's all set up and ready to go, let me jump to the clips and I'll explain to you how to play this build. The first thing I should mention with Boldur is that you can dish out more damage with him by using the first attack on his combo again and again by repeatedly pressing attack with your shield button held down. There's timing you'll have to learn on it to make it work, but it's really effective and feels less disjointed than his normal attack combo. This was vital for me in learning to do well with Boldur. So levels 1 to 4 on the build and Boldur in general can be extremely rough. In most cases, you're at the mercy of your teammates and how smooth your journey to level 5 ultimately becomes, because you'll likely need to rely on them for aid. It's important to prevent as much damage as possible while still going for minions and any player kill or assist opportunities that become available. My strategy with the minions, if there's heavy resistance, is just to go in and hit each minion one time and then fall back on my shield, letting my allies finish them off so I get my experience. If you're lucky enough to get a healer attached to your hip, then you'll have no problems whatsoever, as you can prevent almost all damage coming your way, and even a small amount of heals will make it easy for you. The only reliable way to take down a good Boldur is with CC or a coordinated attack from at least 2 players circling around you, so look out for those situations and escape by using your Boldur dash or tossing your axe out to give you the 30% increased movement and get out of there. I should note too that Klee should be avoided at short distance at all costs, since his laser beam thingy completely ignores your shield and does a ton of damage. However, if you can manage to Boldur dash him into a wall, you can overwhelm him with damage and cause him to flee or die. Another thing to look out for is ground AoEs, particularly from Thorn and Oscar Mike, but those won't get you killed unless you're already low HP. If you do end up low HP, just port back to your base to get full health. If the other team is really raining down the damage on the minion area, then you might need to suicide in there to get the experience, or just go get your levels through thrall camps, buildables, or whatever you can manage to get the level up. So once you get to level 5, you get your ultimate, which increases your survivability dramatically, increases your single target damage dramatically, and gives you AoE damage you previously didn't have that also slows everything it hits. It's freaking amazing, and it turns you into one of the scariest characters on the map. So a quick overview of how it works. You turn on the ultimate and a rune gets placed on both your shield and your weapon. The shield rune makes it so 50% of all damage blocked by your shield is converted into healing for you. The axe rune increases your damage with the axe by 18%. Using your Boldur dash consumes the shield rune and causes it to do increased damage as well as apply a damage over time. Using axe toss consumes the axe rune and causes the axe to explode and do AoE damage on impact. Be aware that the axe is not retrievable after it explodes, but using the ultimate creates a new axe for you. The super nice thing about the ultimate is that it starts counting down to become usable again while the runes are active, so you can use the runes and immediately reapply them if the ultimate is off of cooldown. So what I do is I wait for the ultimate to become available again, and then I Boldur dash, axe toss, then ultimate again, and in most cases finish off the target with axe hits while they're still slowed. That means I now have an overshield and rage is active. They took increased damage from Boldur dash, got a damage over time on them, and probably got stunned on a wall if I used it well. Then they took a giant axe toss hit and got slowed for 3 seconds, and to top it all off, now I'm raining down massive axe hits on them. basically nobody lives through that combo. Once you hit level 9, you can get your HP increased by 720 with 5 stacks from Death and Axes by finishing kills with an Axe Toss. This will put you around 3500 HP if you're using a gear loadout similar to mine. It's easiest to just take out minion waves with an exploding axe to get those stacks up, but however you want to do it, just make sure you get those stacks if you can, because a Boldur with that much health is a nightmare to kill. After you hit level 10, it's pretty much game over for the other team, especially if you did manage to get your HP that high. Your damage was already pretty ridiculous, but now if you're at max health, you get an additional 70% damage on top of that. You just melt through everybody, and remember that you can sprint up on them with your shield up, so you take no damage to get up close to them. Bam, 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 dead player, move on to the next one and destroy them. Every time I've hit level 10 on Boldur, I just run around the map murdering everyone, and there's basically nothing they can do to stop me. The only way you're going to go down is if you get multiple people on you, and even then, you can usually come out on top unless they CC you. So there you go, folks. The Axe-assin build for Boldur. I hope you'll show the dwarf some love, and be sure to let me know how this build works out for you in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.